let's see here. I've got Hershey's, which is the biggest name in chocolate in America and kind of the world. I've got Reese's, also technically part of Hershey's as well, but also a huge name in chocolate. And I also have some equal exchange or organic chocolate. I have Hugs, I have Kisses, I have regular chocolate. This is just milk chocolate. This is, you know, cookies and cream. This is Reese's peanut butter bar, which is just amazing in and of the concept of that. There you go. There you go. So, as you may have guessed, this is going to be about chocolate. So this is the video that I'm going to be doing about the chocolate devil fruit. Lots of different kinds of chocolate go into a chocolate devil fruit, and I made one. So another welcome to any of you that are popping over from the teching channel, that are you know, here to investigate this channel. This is the chocolate devil fruit, and this is the same equal exchange chocolate that I sent teching in his video, in his fan mail video at the beginning of October. I will try to put a link in the description to some of the places where you can buy this chocolate. This is actually 43% cacao, which is, I guess, not the highest, obviously, because there's like 80 and 90% cacao, but this is pretty dang good chocolate. My church sells this stuff, and it's really good. But we also have the chocolate devil fruit, which of course garnered the reaction of, "There's a chocolate devil fruit!" from teching, which was hilarious. That was hilarious. So that's gonna go there in the background. And I just brought out my my donut ears because reference-wise around to things I will be referencing in regards to how this devil fruit works is, of course, I'll be referencing quite a bit of the Mochi Mochi no Mi, which is a special paramecia that, of course, is used by Charlotte Chokorēto, Charlotte Dogtooth Chokorēto, whichever way you want to put his name. You know, one of the big, you know, the top sweet commander, strongest member of the Charlotte family after, you know, Charlotte Linlin, after Big Mom. And his, of course, obsession of donuts. Not that I blame him. Donuts are delicious. So this is not going to be on, though, but it's going to come off. But I will put it back here. So it is still in the video. There we go. Donuts. This is obviously another one of the Halloween-esque type videos that I am doing for parts of October. Yeah. Chocolate. I just can talk about chocolate. So the basic that I put in for this, for the chocolate devil fruit, or the Chokorēto Chokorēto no Mi, is it is a paramecia. It's a special paramecia, kind of on the same level that, of course, the Mochi Mochi no Mi is. Chocolate technically comes from a natural source, but technically so does mochi, but you have to, like, put a lot of work in to get both of them, so it's not really something that, like, quote-unquote occurs naturally. And yeah, so it has, as I put here, you know, it looks like a Hershey's Kiss, you know, little triangle with the 3 layers, white, dark, and milk chocolate layers, of course, on the thing. Because I couldn't think of anything else that it would look like. Similarly, of course, to the Mochi Mochi no Mi, the user can create and mold chocolate of any kind. So you got the vanilla, you got white chocolate, you got milk chocolate, and you got dark chocolate in there. And I mean, like, if you have access to, like, you know, like an endless supply of, or a large amount of, like, nuts or different things like that that people put in chocolate, you can, like, use that as well. But the fruit does not allow you to thus produce, oh, I can produce, you know, I can produce chocolate. I can also produce nuts to go with the chocolate. No, you can just produce the chocolate itself. And by practicing, of course, with the texture and the thickness and the temperament and everything like that in regards to the chocolate, as you, you know, practice and how you make it and everything, how you produce it and what you form with it, you can create weapons and barriers and things like that. Because, of course, the way that we see Chokorēto use the Mochi Mochi no Mi is that he can use it to create, you know, like his donuts, you know, his mochi donuts that he uses, and he can create, you know, the arms and the fists out of them and can attack with those and can coat those in hockey as well, and, you know, because they're an extension of him. The chocolate devil fruit would kind of be kind of the same setup of that of, you know, once it's awakened, you can, you know, touch stuff that is, you know, not chocolate, and you can turn it into chocolate the way that, the way that, Katakuri can do with his Mochi Devil Fruit, because, you know, when he uses the Awakened Power, he can turn stuff into Mochi. Instead of just producing it, he can just turn stuff into Mochi. So the Chocolate Devil Fruit will work on that same basic setup. And throughout the course of using the fruit, if you use it in battle, you would, of course, be able to use it to, you know, form different weapons and such like that. It wouldn't necessarily be, you know, oh, like, this weapon can stand up to, like it's not going to stand up to, like, the Saijo Awazumono type sword. It's not going to stand up to Yoru from Mihawk or anything like that. But if you work with it enough, you can at least use it to create different types of, different textures and different, messing with the textures and the temperament of it will also, you know, allow you to mess with, you know, how hard it is. And how hard it is to crack, of course, and, you know, melt or different things like that. In some cases, you want the chocolate to be extremely melty and sticky and everything like that, because then you can, you know, trap your enemies in it by letting them get stuck in it. And then, I mean, like, you know, they have to eat their way out of the chocolate, which, oh, no, what a horrible fate that would be. You know, you can eat your way out of the chocolate. So, I mean, like, by technicality, you can eat your way out of the mochi as well, or the candy no mi, the lick fruit, that, Paros Fair has. You can eat your way out of the candy. But of course, the person, whoever's making the chocolate, you know, whoever's producing the chocolate from their devil fruit powers, would of course also be able to make it that either the chocolate would taste delicious or horrible, and if it tasted horrible, you probably wouldn't want to be trying to eat your way out of it. But if it tasted delicious, then you would either just get yourself so full that you would get sick from trying to eat your way out of the chocolate. Either way. And, you know, it's like, I just like the idea of, like, a chocolate devil fruit. It just kind of like, well, there's devil fruits about so many other things that have so many other types of powers, and chocolate has a lot of different variations in what you can do with it. You know, you can make it extremely hard. You can make it extremely, solvent and melty and everything like that. You can use it like a liquid. You can use it like a solid, and you can, you know, use it as kind of like, not like an in-between setup, but you can use it as, like, you know, more of like a, like, dry it out, and you can use it as, like, quicksand, like with Nesquik, or different things like that. You can work your way through that stuff with the chocolate. A little bit about chocolate in regards to itself, in regards to, like, the history of chocolate. So chocolate is, of course, a food product made from roasting and grounding cacao pods. That are available in liquid, solid, and paste on its own in regards to the chocolate itself. And then cacao has been consumed in some form since at least the Olmec civilization, which was the 19th to the 11th century BCE. And the majority of Mesoamerican people, including the Mayas and the Aztecs, made chocolate beverages. So of course, you know, that's where, like, hot chocolate came from, but it wasn't like hot chocolate the way that we drink it. It was like hot chocolate with, like, the cacao powder and stuff like that mixed in with, like, chili peppers. So it was, like, extremely hot and spicy and such like that. And of course, in the 16th century, the conquistadors were coming over from Spain. Columbus and Cortez and all of that came over to Mesoamerica and, you know, South America and Central America, and began to, you know, found all the stuff, and they started to take back, you know, the chocolate, and, you know, and then of course it was, you know, then they raised the cacao, you know, pods and everything like that in different places, and then they made bricks of chocolate, where it was much more sweet. And then of course there's the different levels and how sweet it can be, and of course it became this very popular frothy drink for, like, this after dinner things, in, you know, different types of British countries and such like that. So, you know, that's how it traveled to Britain and to, you know, Europe in general. Well, went to Spain first, and then Spain kind of kept it secret for a while, and then it kind of like spread from there. Um, and they developed that type of stuff and made it more of like a sweet type of a thing. And of course, it's very high class, aristocratic type thing. It was like, oh, we can afford chocolate, therefore we are so much better than the people who could not afford chocolate. Um, it was a status symbol, of course, because it costs so much. The etymology, of course, for why it is called chocolate or cocoa is, of course, cacao, pronounced by the Olmecs as cacao, Kakawa, Kakawa, Kakawa. I mispronounced that. I apologize. Dates back to let's see, 1000 BC or earlier, and then the word chocolate entered the English language from Spanish in about the 1600s. The word entered Spanish form, chocolata, chocolato. I apologize for anyone that actually speaks these. I apologize. And that came from kind of the language of the Aztecs, where of course they got the chocolate from originally. And then of course the word developed over time, and it shifted in, because cacao kind of sounded like caca, which of course is not a good word. And then of course it shifted into, oh, we're going to make it be chocolate, and sifted through all these different variations of just like chocolate is what it is called, or cacao, or cocoa, or whatever variation you want to go with this. And of course, the term chocolatier, the person that can is the confectioner of chocolate and the maker of chocolates and the worker of chocolates, came about in 1888. And we've seen some chocolatiers in One Piece. So I'll just throw them out here. We have Miss Valentine from Baroque Works. She wanted to be a chocolatier, which, Valentine, chocolate. Chocolate has quite a place in a lot of different holidays. Of course, we have, chocolates at Easter and everything, with the Easter bunny and chocolates and chocolate bunnies and like all that stuff that goes there. You have chocolate in regards to Halloween, obviously. With handing out chocolates to the trick-or-treaters and just having chocolate in general. And then, of course, you have chocolate out, because chocolate is also big for Christmas. And chocolate is just like big and a whole bunch of other stuff. Baking in the winter, you do chocolate chip cookies. I love doing chocolate chip cookies. You can make the berry cookies that I've had, that I've made and have talked about on the channel before. You can make the berry cookies, and you can put chocolate in the middle. The Reese's bars actually work really good for that, because you could just if you want to have chocolate and peanut butter in the middle, you just break those apart and then just put one piece in the middle of each of the cookies when you're rolling them. For tips on that, chocolate can be mixed with almost anything. There's chocolate ice cream, chocolate cake, chocolate cookies, chocolate drinks. Coffee itself is kind of derived from chocolate. And, you can do all of that stuff. You can do, just chocolate syrup itself. You can do so many different things with chocolate in, our world itself. You can also put, coat things in chocolate, because people coat, pretzels or chips or, s'mores. I love s'mores. S'mores with, chocolate and marshmallows and graham crackers, and those are always so yummy. I like different things like that. People have coated bacon in chocolate because reasons. You can coat donuts in chocolate. Take it back with donuts. You can do so many different things with chocolate. Chocolate pops up in Harry Potter as well, because it is stated to be kind of not like a cure-all for the Dementors, of course, by Lupin, but it helps with the Dementors. It helps with, after you've been attacked by a Dementor, you can eat chocolate, and it kind of helps, because chocolate can release endorphins, and it helps make you a little bit better after you fight Dementors. There's also the chocolate frogs that are in Harry Potter. And there's also other types of chocolate things that, of course, come out of Harry Potter in regards to that, like chocolate wands and chocolate cauldrons and different things like that go with Harry Potter. I was trying to think if there was any reference to chocolate in Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon, well, her mom loves chocolate. Well, Serena herself loves chocolate, and so does Rini, and I think most of the other Sailor Scouts do too, and such. So there's that. Charmy and Black Clover would love chocolate. I'm pretty sure Charmy loves chocolate. I'm sure a bunch of the other mages probably would very much like chocolate as well. In One Piece, obviously we have, Pudding in One Piece, who is of course, Katakuri's younger sister. Of course, she is the possible minister of chocolate, and Lola is the former minister of chocolate. The minister of Cocoa Island and such, Chocolate Island. They're of course there, so that's a huge thing there in One Piece and Totland. Of course, I already mentioned Miss Valentine. There's a couple of other things here and there where like chocolate is mentioned, I think. It's also just like, who doesn't like chocolate? I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like chocolate in the world, and of course, I'd have the dog in here, but dogs and chocolate don't mix. Dogs and chocolate do not mix, which makes me feel sorry for dogs, because it's just like they can't have chocolate because chocolate is so good, but dogs can't have it, which makes me sad. But of course, in regards to how chocolate is made, as I mentioned, the seeds are taken from the cacao tree and in regards to how they originally are, they have an extremely bitter taste, and they grow in these pods, and then they take the pods, and if I remember correctly, they chop the pods open, and then the beans sit out. They take all the beans out of the pods. Something else is done with the pods themselves. But then the beans just like sit out, and like they literally just kind of roast in the sun until they are dried out and cleaned and roasted. And then they take the beans and they are ground up, and then just ground up and liquefied into like this chocolate liqueur, which, in regards to itself, is probably still on the bitter side, but as you add in sugar or milk or other components into it, you're then able to produce, solid chocolates and butter chocolate, or cocoa butter and cocoa solids and such like that. That then you can use, baking chocolate, of course, that is a bit more on the bitter side because it's meant to be mixed in with, sugar is going to be with it. Baking chocolate in and of itself isn't necessarily bad. It's just more designed to be used to like melt it and then mixed with other things, of course. There's other things that go along with that. There's the cocoa butter and, the solids and such like that. And of course, as you go, you add sugar or milk to it. You can make milk chocolate. And of course, you can then, there's white chocolate, which I'll get to white chocolate in a second. And then, of course, there's dark chocolate, which dark chocolate has a much higher cacao ratio to it than just, milk chocolate does. It's a much more cacao, much more cocoa is used in it, and much less sugar and much less milk. So it's a little bit more of a bitter taste. My mom loves dark chocolate. My mom loves dark chocolate. She still has, so I bought her some of the Equal Exchange dark chocolate a while ago, and she still hasn't finished it because she keeps forgetting that it's there. But she's always happy whenever she eats it. And, so there's that. And then, of course, we have milk chocolate, which is the sweet chocolate that is additionally contains milk powder or condensed milk. And then white chocolate contains the chocolate butter, but no chocolate solids. So it still has like the chocolate flavor in it, but it doesn't have like any actual chocolate solids that give it the coloring of the chocolates. And of course, there's, the different types of chocolate. There's, of course, milk chocolate, as I said, which different countries have different standards for what is considered chocolate, for what is considered milk chocolate and dark chocolate and white chocolate and such like that. The kind of the American standards that I have here are, milk chocolate is about, milk chocolate must contain a minimum of 20% total dry cacao solids, and in the rest of the European Union, the minimum of 25%. So I think that's the UK and Ireland for the other stuff, but that would also apply. I think America is kind of also the same way. This chocolate is milk chocolate that I have, and it is 43%, as I said before. And then we have white chocolate, which is, of course, this more light texture type of a thing. I do like white chocolate. It's not my favorite. I prefer milk chocolate, but white chocolate is very good at times as well. It just doesn't have the dark color to it, and it has a little bit more of a slightly different texture to it, of course. And then, of course, there's dark chocolate, which is by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the USDA, calls this sweet chocolate, and is required 15% chocolate liqueur, at least 15% chocolate liqueur in it. And then by European rules, it has a minimum of 35% chocolate solids. So there's, there's different variations in different countries because like chocolates from here have, more or less in it than other countries, give or take what's considered by the standard in those different countries. And of course, there's the unsweetened chocolates, which of course just has far less sugar and far less stuff in it. And those are much higher in cacao, minimum of like 75% is like some stuff for like always dark and raw cacao and stuff like that have different variations in it. And of course, in regards to the person who would have this devil fruit, they would of course be able to manipulate as they're producing it, these different levels of, enough practice in it would allow them to be able to manipulate, there's this much sugar in it because that kind of goes along with the chocolate itself. There's this much hardness, this much sweetness, this much sugar, this much cacao mixed in with it and such like that in regards to this devil fruit. So, because, Katakuri can kind of control what his mochi does. He can control how kind of solid it is and how, liquidy it is and such like that. So this would still kind of be the same type of thing. And you could do similar things with this chocolate, like the chocolate fruit that you can with the Mochi Mochi fruit. Admittedly, the Mochi Mochi fruit is probably a bit more on like the sticky side, or a little bit more of like, might be better for trapping things in. And possibly like, because I know that he keeps, initially I thought that like his spear, Mogura, I had initially thought that that was like just made out of mochi that he just like hardened and then covered in hockey, which admittedly that would be cool, but that's not what it is. He just keeps it inside of himself. And, being a special Paramecia, the person who would have the chocolate fruit would of course also be able to do similar things to the way that Katakuri works with that, form, the chocolate donuts and form, chocolate fists or stuff like that. And then be able to, cover them in hockey the same way that, Katakuri does, which I do very much like the way that Katakuri fights. So that's why this devil fruit would kind of be very similar to that. And there would, of course, be slight differences in that. The fact that, like, the person who has the chocolate devil fruit would, of course, also be able to mess with the tempering of the chocolate, which the tempering of the chocolate is what determines its polymorphous crystallization, which determines how hard the chocolate is. I have a chart here for what the different things do, but I don't remember exactly what they say. And even if I could remember what they said, it's all Greek to me. Or One Piece reference, it's all poneglyph to me. That's what's written all over a bunch of different poneglyphs. Chocolate recipes. That's why Big Mom wants them. They're chocolate recipes. I did have a joke on like the devil fruit card that I sent Teching that this devil fruit is coveted by Big Mom Charlotte Linlin because it is a chocolate devil fruit, and she of course loves sweets and everything. So warning, if you happen to have this devil fruit, either you better be on her side, or she will track you down and find you and then bring you back, and then she will either make you on her side or kill you and then find a way to take your devil fruit. That's kind of where I was putting with that. Just kind of like, oh yeah, no, Linlin would want this chocolate. Linlin would very much want this devil fruit. Admittedly, I've stated this before in videos. We have not seen so many other spouses that are part of the Charlotte family because, as I said, Pudding has stated before that so many of the older siblings are all married and have children of their own. The only grandchild, of course, we see is Pez, and of course the only spouses we see are, of course, Beige, almost Sanji, Aladdin, and now Gotti. In regards to the ones we've actually seen. Sanji was a potential one, of course, but that didn't go anywhere. Because reasons, just Totland in general and Germa. But of course, there's this possibility that if there was this type of a devil fruit, this would be a devil fruit that would be coveted by. This would be a reason where like Linlin would make an exception that if like one of her children happened to be in love with this person that had this devil fruit, like let's just put Katakuri in here, just because I've talked about him a lot and I like Katakuri. If Katakuri happened to fall in love with like if this devil fruit was held by a woman, if Katakuri fell in love with the woman that had this devil fruit and she was like, okay, sure, I'll marry you. Linlin would be perfectly fine with this because it would give her the ability to have the person who has the ability to control chocolate. And you can't argue with me on that because she would. It's like, oh, you fell in love with a girl. Does she have any merits to bring into the family? She has the chocolate know me, mom. Why aren't you married to this child? Why aren't we planning a wedding? Have I taught you nothing? It's just like one of the times where it's just like, yes, this is a wedding that I wish to have happen. And like she would just be so happy. Linlin would be so happy if that was the case. If like one of her sons or daughters fell in love with the person that had the chocolate know me. It's just like, I don't care if the person doesn't want to marry you. They're marrying into the family one way or another. Or the whole, oh, we found the person. They're single. Bring me my single children now. Take your pick. You can pick from any of these. All of them. Why am I here? Just like all the other, whatever other children that are still single. Why are we even here? I want this girl, I want the person that has this fruit to be part of my family. Just Linlin in that case. But in regards to tempering, of course, you can make the chocolate harder, stiffer, firmer, all of this, and you can use that in regards to fighting. We've seen various uses of this in regards to the fact that Mr. 3, of course, part of Baroque works, of course, he has the wax fruit, which is kind of another idea where this came from, of like, because it's a paramecia, you produce he produces the wax, you produce chocolate. You can form the chocolate into different shapes. Now, it would not be able to stand up to the same heat temperature to a degree as what his can do, because I think chocolate melts at a lower temperature than wax does. But if you do enough training with it, again, a lot of training would go into using this, because like on the surface, like the Mochi Mochi no Mi and the wax fruit, by a technicality, just at a glance, probably wouldn't be extremely useful in combat. But the way that Katakuri uses it, he had that devil fruit however long he's had that devil fruit. I don't remember if they state specifically how long he's had it, but he's had it a very long time. And he's had a very long time to try to figure out ways of, I can use this devil fruit for this. I can use this devil fruit for this. I can fight this way. I can summon these giant donuts and I can use the arms to pop out of it. I can, use this to wrap up my opponents, make a flood of mochi. I can make barriers out of the mochi. Mr. 3 says very similar things with the wax fruit. He can make armor out of it. He can, all this other stuff that he can do with it. He makes, like the little house that's on, Little Garden for a long time. And he does all these other things with it. Having, that on its surface may not necessarily appear to be something extremely useful, but in the capable hands of someone, and even if this person who has this devil fruit doesn't necessarily have like these capable hands of like, they're not a fighter, they might honestly just be someone who is a chef, then they would just be like the most amazing chocolatier ever. And like Linlin would still want them because like they would be able to produce whatever level of chocolate they would want and then literally form it into whatever shape they want. Oh, you want a giant chocolate bust of Big Mom? Okay. Giant chocolate bust of Big Mom. Oh, we need like this entire, building covered in chocolate. We need to cover this entire building on, Chocolate Island with chocolate. Okay. Just like cover the whole thing with chocolate. Whatever the case may be, you can use it that way and you would be you'd be welcome in Totland. Doesn't mean you wouldn't be welcome anywhere else because you would probably still be welcomed into other places with having this ability. You could still go to like, I moved to, I was going to go random country, Wano, because we're in Wano right now. You go to Wano, you can use your, devil fruit powers to then create chocolate in Wano, and then you become rich because they don't know what chocolate is, and they try it, and they love it, and then you just get money from that. You go to other islands around One Piece, the other countries that are there, Dressrosa, same concept. They know what chocolate is in Dressrosa, I would assume. I mean, it's the country of romance, and chocolate is part of romance. Of course it is, because of Valentine's Day. And just chocolate is awesome in general. So, there would be chocolate in a lot of these places that you could always go to, or you could have a business where it's like, even if you don't necessarily produce the chocolate, from using your devil fruit so much, you would know so much about how to, manipulate chocolate that, you can just manipulate regular chocolate because you can create chocolate and you can manipulate chocolate. So therefore, even if it's just regular chocolate that's there, you know exactly how to work with this chocolate. Even if it's not chocolate you made, you would know exactly how to work with it. And we've seen, weaponization of something that you wouldn't necessarily see weaponization of, which is kind of like the biscuit fruit that Cracker has. Because, his devil fruit is just like, makes biscuits. On the surface, that's not very threatening. It's like Oda has taken wax and mochi and crackers and made them threatening. There's like other things that he's done that he's turned into like this threatening thing as well, because it's used by someone that has the talent to make it threatening. Cracker makes the crackers, the biscuits and everything. And then he's able to manipulate those biscuits into different densities, like for the biscuit soldiers and for like his biscuit armor. It is extremely hard. You can't get chocolate to that same hardness, but you can also make it where the chocolate was like soft enough that it's like it will reform and absorb the attack. So yeah, you get hit by something, but if there's enough layer of a chocolate between you and the attack, you're not going to take too much damage from it, or really any damage from it, because the chocolate itself just kind of absorbs it. And, I don't remember if we see if Mr. 3 or if Katakuri, like, when they take, like, Katakuri, when he makes his mochi, obviously he can use like the mochi river and use it that way, or the mochi donuts and cover them in hockey by making the hands appear and covering them in hockey and punching that way, because that's the way that he fought Luffy. It's the higher up version of like what Luffy has. It's a more advanced version of that. Probably in regards to like with the chocolate no mi, you would do like somewhere in the middle, like it's like the Gumma Gumma no mi is here, and then like maybe Katakuri's Mochi Mochi fruit is about here. The chocolate fruit probably went about here, because you can still do similar things with it that you could do with the mochi devil fruit. And of course, in the hands of someone who has proper battle training, like if they were trained by Katakuri, going along with the whole thing of like if Katakuri married the person who had this, or if someone who had this fruit married into the family, and they wanted to be a warrior, defend Totland because I need to do something that's going to make me valuable to Big Mom. I'll become a warrior. And then, just join the Big Mom Pirates that way. Or, even if if you are caught, I keep doing this because I just like Katakuri's wife, just because it gives me a valid reason as to why to use that. Katakuri's wife has this devil fruit. If that was the case, we have no idea if Katakuri is actually married in canon, but just for the purposes of this, yes, Katakuri married the person who has this devil fruit. First of all, match made in heaven, because she can put so much chocolate all over his donuts that it's not a problem. That went way more down one path than I was intending for it. I apologize. Or not, depending on how you took that joke. But, he would probably then train her in how to use her, powers for combat. Maybe not to the same level that he can do, obviously, because he's been training for, 40 years? But, 40 some years. But, having that person, his wife, be able to defend herself if he's not there would also be an extremely important thing to have happen, because then they can, she's not going to get hurt. Or she's much more able to defend herself if she's, kidnapped or something. It's like, well, we need to target the sweet commanders. Are any of them married? Well, Katakuri's married. What's his wife do? She's a chocolatier. She has a devil fruit that allows her to control chocolate. That doesn't seem very threatening. Let's go after her. Try to kidnap her. She just, walks back to the house with, giant balls of chocolate behind her that are, all of her kidnappers. Honey, I'm home. I trapped them. Just, giant chocolate orbs all around them, trying to break out of them, depending on how strong the kidnappers were. But I just like the idea of a chocolate devil fruit, and tempering the chocolate, of course, goes into the temperature that they're chilled at, or the temperature that they harden at, of course, affects that. different, different things like that are affected by that. Uniform sheet, crisp chocolate, different shapes that you can make with the chocolate. You can make like a chocolate sword. You can, so many, whatever form of weapon you can imagine, you can make out of the chocolate. And then go from there. You can then, you make a sword out of chocolate. If you know hockey, you can then coat the sword in hockey. Yeah, as I said, it's probably not going to stand up to like Yoru or something, but it would at least give you the ability to defend yourself. Same thing with, take chocolate, make a giant barrier, and then coat that barrier in hockey, and you can defend yourself that way too, depending on the circumstances. Probably like chocolate armor probably wouldn't be the best idea in the world. Simply just because, unless you got really, really good at like tempering the chocolate to the point where it can stand up to several blows or several attacks from a strong opponent, it probably wouldn't go over super well. Simply just because of the fact of, chocolate can be quite brittle as well. Even if it's tempered correctly, it can still be quite brittle. There was a show I used to watch on Food Network. It was like chocolate something with like, it was like just a show about like this guy that would like sculpt chocolate, and I don't remember what the name of the show was, but like he would sculpt chocolate into like all of these different shapes and textures and everything like that, and just make like these amazing things out of the chocolate. Some of it was simple, some of it was much more, over the top type stuff. And like, he would temper the chocolate, and he would, freeze it and different things like that, because, you could control the temperature of the chocolate, because like, Katakuri can control the temperature of his mochi. He can make it extremely hot with his roasted mochi, and he can probably make it quite cold too. I mean, like not like as cold as like the hiya no meat goes, is like the the chili fruit that I was supposed to say Kizaru has, wrong one, that Aokiji has. It doesn't go that cold, but he can still cool it down to the point where it would harden. And same thing with like warming it up. You can boil chocolate. You can make the chocolate extremely hot. Obviously, on the scale, again, not as hot as like, Sakazuki's, magma, but it's still, hot to the point where it will burn you. Unless you have like a fruit that already, like negates heat or something like that. But you would still be able to use it that way. Still cause damage to your opponent that way. And admittedly, we all know that if this person fought Luffy would just have so much fun eating the chocolate, but he would probably eventually just go into like the tank man full mode again, that he did when he fought Cracker. just get that full. But like, it's just like all of that stuff would go into that in regards to, the person who would have this devil fruit would have to do a lot of training with it to get to the point where they would be able to control this fruit to the best of their ability. Yes, I can make this stuff extremely hard and, extremely solid, and make it extremely, durable. I can also make it extremely, pliable and everything, or much more of a liquid form, and then I can use that to trap the opponent in that, or, whatever the case may be, slip around the opponent's controls. Different things like that. It would be very similar to the way that, Katakuri fights, or even the way that, Mr. 3 fights, in regards to how they can use their devil fruit powers. Probably, those are about the two basic ones that I can come up with, because it's not like a Logia, because it's like, by technicality, it would be like, if the person got hurt, like the way that Katakuri gets hurt throughout the course of his fight with Luffy, like he gets like part of his arm gets hurt, and he gets like hit with a bunch of Luffy's attacks, he's able to then reform very similar to the way that Logia could. So if there's one special Paramecia out there, that implies that there might be others, or at least the possibility for others. And, the Mochi Mochi no Mi is, this higher up version, as I said, of the Gumma Gumma no Mi. The chocolate devil fruit would be something similar to the fact that it would be a bit higher up than the Gumma Gumma no Mi in, like, regards to power, but it wouldn't be as, like, this far up above the Gumma Gumma no Mi, or, like, a little bit higher than the Gumma Gumma no Mi than, like, the Mochi Mochi fruit is. In regards to, like, oh, this is the next level up in what the fruit can become. And it would probably, as I said, it would have a similar awakened, mode to what the Mochi Mochi can do, because, like, the person, once they awaken it, would be able to then, change things into chocolate. Just like, oh, like what Katakuri does in the mirror world. He's like, oh, I've got all this space, but I need more mochi, and if I keep producing it, that's just going to wear me down. But if I change stuff into mochi, it's much, it's not as much of an effort. And that's what he does. He, changes other things around him into mochi and makes his, mochi world. Same, similar to the way that, Doflamingo does with, his strings and his string world and everything like that. So, in regards to that, that's about what I had in regards to notes for this. In regards to, the chocolate no me. So, if anybody has any comments in regards to, what's your favorite chocolate, or, I just picture this as like the person would be able to like, make a chocolate sword and then cover it in hockey and use it that way, or make, a chocolate bow staff like what Nami can do with her bow staff and then cover that in hockey and use it that way, create whatever weapon they would need. They would not be like a master swordsman or a master, staff fighter or something like that, but it'd be kind of like this jack of all trades, master of none in regards to what weapon suits best for this part in time for where I'm fighting. And, adjust their, attacks that way. Bit of a pliable substance to work with. Yes, chocolate can be very pliable. It's also delicious. So, that's what I have for this. As I said, comment on what your favorite, chocolate types are, or some of your favorite chocolate brands, or whatever the case may be. As I said, like with this, like you wouldn't be able to produce like nuts with this because like, yeah, there's like nuts in chocolate a lot of the time, but you wouldn't be able to produce that. You wouldn't be able to produce like the peanut butter with this. On that level, there might be like a peanut butter devil fruit out there, which would be extremely sticky. You can just produce the chocolate at varying levels in regard to the chocolate. You cannot do any of like the quote unquote add-ins. So, yep, that's what we have. I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy all the chocolate that you get for Halloween. Bye. Chocolate is the first luxury. It has so many things wrapped up in it. Deliciousness in the moment, childhood memories, and that grin-inducing feeling of getting a reward for being good.